Good morning, folks. Welcome to this morning's show. We're live, as you know, on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So thank you very much for coming aboard. I really appreciate it. It's Friday. My name is Mark Banks, and I've 30 years plus in business, running my own companies mainly. And the idea of this show is to give you some help, advice, and you want to make any comments or you need any help and advice to let you know that you're not the only one out there. This is just not just to help your business, but to help your mental health as well. Because running your own company is a tough place to be. It's a tough thing to do. And many days are fantastic and many days are not fantastic. So the idea of this show is just to give you some of what's happened to me and what your comments are and what's happened to you. Some advice, if I can give you some advice, fantastic. If you don't need any advice, so be it. So all this week we talked about whiteboarding and making sure you have on your whiteboard, having your key figures up there. Your key figures, of course, being your overheads, your sales, and your cash collection figures. And for those three figures, drive your business and drive your day. And we also said put up there one or two ideal customers that you would love to have, maybe these blue chip companies or blue chip customers that if you had them would massively change your business and the way your business is run, and also your business profile and also your turnover. This morning we're going to talk about cash flow. Friday is a terrible day for an awful lot of small businesses because an awful lot of small businesses on a Friday have to run around trying to find cash to pay for things today. And in a way, when you're running your own business or you're the MD of a company, Friday is in some ways is a lost day because you're spent so much time worrying about paying the wages and paying different things that it's a day that's lost to firefighting cash flow. And like you may or may not heard a story about Dennis O'Brien when he was running a telecoms company in Ireland, and Dennis now runs a huge company down by the Caribbean, and he eventually sold his company to BT for over 260 million. But he tells a story also of one Friday having to drive up to Northern Ireland to try to get a loan off someone for 100 grand, and he was promised £100,000. It wasn't there. The person who promised it didn't really have it, and he had to drive back down and try and get that money, the 100 grand, off someone else to pay the wages that day. And really, it doesn't make a difference if you're short 100 grand or you're short 100 euros or you're short £1,000. It's all relative to the size of your company. But the challenge is that most people, if you have employees on the Friday, the Thursday evening and the Friday, you are running around trying to collect that money. You are running around trying to find that money to make the Friday work for you. And really, it's all about good cash management. And this is something you should be doing every day during the week, really, and not just on the Friday. So to make Friday work better for yourselves. And this is coming from someone, like I've ran a number of companies, and one company about 20 years ago I had to close down because we got hit. And one of the companies we gave credit to went bust, and they owed us over £500,000. And because they owed us over €500,000, the banks basically pulled their funding. And when the banks pulled their funding, the company collapsed. We probably, in hindsight, could have kept going. We could have gone around to all our creditors and try and do deals to keep us in business. But with one particular creditor, RTE, who wasn't interested in doing a deal, and all it takes is one company to put you out of business. All it takes is one company to go into court, say you can't pay your debts as they come due, and close down your company. So that one company, RTE, refused to do a deal with us. So it meant we had the legal advice was you have to close your company down unless you want to make yourself personally liable for all your debts. But in hindsight, then what we should have been doing, we should have managed, and this is the thing that you need to think about, manage who you give credit to. It was very hard in today's world not to give credit to people because a lot of people expect credit. But you can manage it, and there is services out there where you can check a company's reputation and their profile and how good they are at paying people. So there are companies out there that actually will do that work for you. But you need to be managing that. But also, from Monday morning, you need to be ringing people who you want to get money off by Friday. You need to be keeping in touch with those people. If you're the only employee, you need to make sure your relationship is good enough with those people that you get the money in. And that's a hard thing, collecting that money on a Friday. Because remember, Friday is a chaos day for a lot of companies. No, and it may be a chaos day for you because you have to pay people. But equally, people who have to pay you, it's probably a chaos day for them as well. So it's a complete chain reaction that a lot of small companies are having chaos days. They're trying to get on a Friday. They're trying to get money in this morning, pay for stuff this afternoon for staff wages. Maybe staff are paid around 3 or 4 or when they finish their shift today. And you're trying to get the cash in now all morning. And the people you are chasing, they're probably chasing people as well. And those people they're chasing are probably chasing people. So it's a whole chain reaction. And that reaction goes on all day long. And you might think, well, you're the only one in that chain and you're chasing someone and you know their company is doing well. And look, we've all heard of companies that are doing well. And then the next morning, they announce they're closing down. Because what you see on the outside, looking in at a company, is one thing. And some companies are very good at painting the picture. And you have to be very good at painting the picture that your company is doing well and that things are going very well. Because you don't, nobody will do business with you. So you're probably thinking, well, they're making lots of money. They're doing really well. And they have big cars and they have a nice office and they have this and they have that. But more than likely, all that stuff is leased. And the building they're in is leased and we have rent to pay. So they have overheads like you. So it's up to you to manage your cash flow really, really well. And the management of that cash flow starts, as I said, on a Monday and goes on for every day of the week. You need to figure out how people are going to pay you on that Friday. And people can promise that they will pay you, but you cannot pay your staff on promises, right? Promises do not put groceries on the table. Promises do not pay the phone bill and they don't pay the heating bill and they don't pay any bill whatsoever. Promises don't do that. So from a Monday, if someone promises you money by Tuesday or Wednesday, you need to make sure on Tuesday afternoon, if that money hasn't come in, that you're making that phone call to remind them to pay you. Because you have to remember, most companies, you don't just have to pay you, as I said. They have other people chasing them for money, other people making that phone call that you're making looking for money. So you need to make sure that you're on the top of the list. And most times the only way you're on top of the list is to be a pain in the backside and remind them every day or every second day that you're there and that you need this money. And that's what it's all about. It's remind them that you need to get paid and you need to get paid soon. And that's why it's so important as part of cash flow management in having a good relationship with companies, having an extremely good relationship with companies. That is really important. I remember someone we used to own Indigo, someone who we dealt with. At one stage, we owed him about £400,000. It was normal. Our bills used to be that high with this particular individual company, but he used to send me notes. And because I was managing director, he used to send me notes in, and on top of the notes or the invoices was a little note. And the little note sometimes used to say, "Mark, my family is now living on bread and potatoes only. I need money. Hurry, hurry. We need your help." He used to lighten the mood, even though it was a big amount of money owed. He used to lighten the mood, but also he got my attention. Because the first thing, most times when his bills came in and I saw those little notes on top of the invoices, I used to say to the accounts department, "Will you ever pay that chap for me?" He sent me notes in there, his family starving. And we paid it. And that was his way of putting the pressure on, but putting it on in a more relaxed way. And it worked for him. It worked really well for him. And so you need to make sure that Friday is not a crisis management day for you. You need to make sure that all during the week, and this is why it's so important to have on your whiteboard what your overheads is, your cash flow requirement for the week. You have your overhead figure, but you also need your cash flow requirement for the week. So you should know on Monday how much money you need to get in on Friday to pay all the bills you have to pay. Because you not only have to pay wages, you're going to have to pay probably other suppliers, you have to pay other people. So you need to make sure that every day you're looking at that figure, and every day you know what balance that figure has still to come in. And that's how you're managing the whole thing. So you're managing on a daily basis. So you get away from, one, you get away from Friday being cash flow crisis day. And two, that you make Friday work for you as a sales day or a business development day. That you're not running around like a blue arse fly, chasing money, trying to find money from all different sources. That you're actually out there on a Friday carrying on business as normal. And you will carry on business as normal if, as I said, you have that key figure up there on your whiteboard. And you know that come next Monday, you need to get 2 grand in, 10 grand in, 15 grand, 50,000 pounds in for the week. And you know on Tuesday, you've got in 5 or 6, so you only need now X in. And you know on Wednesday, you got X in, so now you only need X amount to come in. And by Friday, the amount of money you should need in should be 0, because you've collected it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and hopefully someone will come in on Friday morning and hit the bank. If nothing has come in, you should know that on a Tuesday, and you should definitely know it on a Wednesday. And by Wednesday afternoon and Thursday, you should be hitting those phone lines and giving people hell to get that money in for your staff and even for yourself, to pay your own bills, for food at the table, pay your mortgage, pay your light and the heat, pay different things. So you need to manage it well. You need to manage it extremely well. Now, anyone else who also follows me will also know Friday is my no mail day. I've done this for the last 20 years. And what no mail day is very simple. I don't open my post on a Friday. And I haven't for the last 20 years. I tell you why I haven't. Many years ago when I had to close down a company, the receiver and the liquidator used to send me stuff out in the post that I would receive on a Friday. And of course, I would open that mail on a Friday. And most times I was opening it in the afternoon when I got home from work. So it was usually Friday evening by the time I opened the mail, because the mail wouldn't have come before I left the house. And the problem with opening a mail on a Friday afternoon, and if it's bad news, or it's something you don't agree with, or something that you believe is wrong, and something you believe you shouldn't have got, you've no one to ring. Because most people won't take inbound calls on a Friday afternoon. They just won't. They won't take inbound calls on a Friday afternoon. I know someone who works for a company, and every Friday they diverted all the phones to one phone in the office, and then on that one phone, they took her off the hook. They made it look like the phones were always engaged on a Friday afternoon because they didn't want to take any calls on that Friday afternoon. So, and that's one of the reasons that myself and a lot of people I know now follow my lead and do not open their mail on a Friday. They don't open the post. Because if there is a bill or a message in there or something that is wrong, what's going to happen? I tell you what's going to happen. You're not going to be able to contact anyone whatsoever on a Friday afternoon. You're just not. And because you can't contact anyone on a Friday afternoon, your whole weekend is absolutely ruined, because you'll be giving out to yourself, you'll be giving out to your partner, you'll be giving out to your kids, you'll be giving out to your friends, you'll be giving out to everyone that you got this letter and it's wrong. Maybe it's a bill for the wrong amount. Maybe it's a bill that you already paid. Maybe someone billed you for something and it's more than what they said it should be. Maybe it's a bill that you shouldn't have received, or maybe it's a letter from someone that you told them not to write to you, or maybe it's a legal letter for some reason, and what the information in it is all wrong. But the problem is, because you've opened your mail on a Friday, the whole weekend is ruined, because you haven't been able to contact anyone, and you won't be able to contact anyone until Monday. But when you do contact someone on Monday, what's going to happen? In a lot of cases, they'll simply say, "Oh, sorry about that. We'll fix that for you." And the problem is fixed. Now, if you had waited till Monday morning to open that letter, you'd have a decent weekend, be able to relax, take it easy, and have a normal weekend, rather than worrying the whole weekend about this letter or bill that you got that is wrong, or you believe is wrong, or you believe it has the wrong information. You sorted it out on Monday in maybe an hour, maybe 15 minutes, maybe half an hour, but you've got it sorted on Monday. Where if you hadn't have opened the mail till Monday morning, you still would have got it sorted on a Monday. It would have been the same. There'd be no difference. So that's why I tell everyone, do not open your mail. Do not open your mail on a Friday. Leave it till Monday morning. Even if you won the lotto or the lotto is sending you a check. If you're getting home around 4 or 5 or 6 on a Friday evening and you open that mail, you still can't lodge that check till Monday. So what is the point of ruining your whole weekend just so someone else can enjoy theirs? There's no point. So don't open that letter or that mail on a Friday. I haven't done it for 20 years and it works. Especially if you're self-employed, you may get a lot of mail on a Friday, and a lot of invoices, a lot of other stuff. Just leave it till first thing Monday morning. It's not going to change anything on Monday when you open it, but it will change something on a Friday if you open it and you're running around trying to contact someone. So just do yourself a favor. I say to everybody every Friday, I usually have a posting up in different places on a Friday saying, don't open your mail, don't. And so you're now heading into the weekend. Hopefully it's been a busy week for you. Hopefully your sales and your business is going well. Hopefully you've taken my advice and you've done the whiteboard. Do take a bit of time to relax. Because when you work for yourself, you're leading a company from the front. There's a lot of pressure on you. There's a lot of pressure for you to perform. There's a lot of pressure for you to hide things. In other words, hide things in your head. Don't let people know how things are really going. Because maybe things ain't going great. Maybe it's been a tough week. Maybe your sales are not the way you would like it to go. But if you let other people know, then you're probably like me. You might think it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Sorry, that's my dyslexia coming through. So you might think it's self-fulfilling prophecy if you tell other people. And if you have staff, maybe you don't want to tell your staff, look, we're not doing well. This was a terrible week. Maybe you want to keep it to yourself. And maybe because you have a sales meeting every Monday morning and you're going to tell them on Monday that they need to pull their socks up and we need to get more sales in or we need to hit on more doors. But a lot of business people, probably like myself, they don't believe they should burden the staff for all the problems of the business because it's not their business. It's your business. And when it's your business, you signed up for all the problems. You signed up for all the hassle. You signed up for all the pressure. You signed up for the loneliness. You signed up for all that. Your staff didn't. I'll tell you a story on Monday about a staff member in Indigo who wanted to be part of the management function to know what was going on in the company and how that suddenly changed their outlook on life. But that's another story for Monday. So do yourself a favor. If you're running your own business and if things are going well, fantastic. If things are not going well, then reach out and tell someone. In my new book, You Need a Neck Like a Jockey's Bollocks to Be an Entrepreneur. If you listen to me on TikTok, you can buy the book. It's in the basket on the site. I think there's a little box here saying what's on the shelf. But you need a neck like a jockey's bollocks to be an entrepreneur. I always say you should find a shoulder to cry on. You should find someone that you trust, someone that doesn't judge you, and maybe have a cup of coffee with them and just tell them what's going on. Because sometimes when we get what's in here, out there, we see possible solutions and possible scenarios that may help solve the problem. So thanks for joining me all this week. We started the show on Tuesday for the first time. I'm on every single weekday morning at 7:30 for about 20 minutes. I always keep it to 20 minutes as promised. I'm off now to do a small workshop with a small company I've been working with all week and planning their whole year ahead. So I finish up today with them and hopefully keep an eye on how they're doing. They're a very impressive company. So that's what the rest of my day is like. I'm not chasing anybody for cash, thank God. Someone might be chasing me, they maybe, you know. So excuse me. So have a great weekend. Try and relax. I know you'll always be thinking about the business. That's just the way things go. But do join me on Monday morning at 7:30 live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Have a great morning.